This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Welcome to Sunday, a Labor Day long weekend. September now fully in effect, 4 days in, if you can believe it. And while the Oilers still have Ryan McLeod unsigned, and this is one of those things that I have to say I did not expect to drag on this long. That said, though, if it's dragged on this long, I don't expect it'll be cleared up anytime soon, is what I'd be saying, if that makes sense. So what I'm saying in that is, simply put, for the Oilers, they have to figure out the cap space conundrum to make Ryan McLeod work. Even if Ryan McLeod comes in at $1 million cap hit for the next 2 years or whatever, just getting him on the roster for opening day is the hardest part of everything right now. And that, in a sense, I'm going to throw this to you right now. The Oilers could not sign him until opening or second day of the season, where they've already activated the LTIR money and they can kind of shuffle around the money a little bit quicker. But that said, too, I don't think that's exactly what they're looking to do, so keep that in mind. But folks, if you're new to the channel, or returning, whatever you want to say, if you want to go above and beyond for me today, I'd be greatly appreciative. If you're new or returning and aren't subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button. That'd be greatly appreciated there, that's for sure. And secondary too, if you're at all interested in the topic and you think the discussion's any good on it, let me know. Leave a like. Hey, leave a dislike if you're scared about Ryan McLeod, frankly, I don't know. Anyway, I distract. We need to go talk about the Oilers forward group, and right now here's the problem. They're sitting at 11 forwards on the NHL roster with $500,000 above the LTIR cap clear space. So that is in of itself a little bit of an issue, right? This roster is $6.7 million over the cap, and there's no real clear way how you're going to clear that up and get the cap space you need. Obviously, like we've said, the trade route is there, but you also got to add in another $1 million for Mr. Ryan McLeod. So now all of a sudden, yeah, you're talking about being $1.5 million over the cap, technically, with the LTIR space, but you have to figure out a way to clear up enough space to allow you to maneuver come roster day. I know Oilers Fanatic there, he's talked about potentially slating a roster of only 20 guys on the opening night submission for the salary cap start, and that very well could be what the Oilers have to do here. However, still, even if you only slate 7, you're probably slating down Philip Broberg and Ryan Murray at this point to get them into the minors right on opening night. Well, that only clears up $1.5 million, so you still got to clear up space somewhere else. You could probably shuffle Devin Shore and get away with it, but that's kind of the problem. Slater Cuckoo as well, sitting there at 9.925. So there's a couple of guys you could shuffle around for a little bit of free money, but I don't think you're getting what you need out of those guys necessarily. So yeah, as we talked yesterday, Tyson Barrie, a likely trade candidate still, and then obviously too, there's Warren Fogle at 2.75. But I just don't know how this math quite all adds up for the Oilers, if you get where I'm going. Is it just doesn't seem. You could probably bury Derek Ryan in the minors to start the year and clear up probably about $800,000 on his cap hit. So there are ways, and Matthias Janmark, I don't know what you could do for him, but I'm sure you could get something going there too. But you kind of see, and by no means am I a cap expert to be sitting here telling you this is what the Oilers have to do, and that's why I'm not doing it. I'm just kind of throwing out there what I'm thinking on Mr. Ryan McLeod and what kind of the situation has to happen. However, for the Oilers, the big part here is this year, right? Now, this year, they're going to clear up $2.25 million in cap space at the end of the year come July 1st because of Andrej Sekera and Milan Lucic coming off the books. So that's a big get for the Oilers in that sense, is the fact that for the Oilers, they clear up that 2.25 going into next year, but you don't have that LTIR money. So again, let's circle back and have another discussion maybe about acquiring a guy like Ben Bishop. Obviously Montreal is not going to trade Carey Price, But a guy like Carey Price, how much LTIR cap space do you want to divvy up assets for to allow you to do what you need to do? However, you still need to, right, get to that magic number below the cap before the season starts. And for the Oilers too, there's ways you can achieve that. Xavier Bordeaux is going to be a cheap option. Dylan Holloway is going to be a cheap option. Carter Savoy is going to be a cheap option. Outside shot Raphael Lavoie. And really there's no one else at this point that you could think of that would be effective. I mean, James Hamblin could potentially be a 13th, 14th forward. Tyler Benson's in there. You've got Greg McKegg in there. And of course Seth Griffith and Brad Malone. But how long they stick around, who knows at this point. In terms of relevancy to the NHL roster, they're just names that you can maybe maneuver things around in time to start the season. I'm not sure. Again, not sure what the exact options are available to the Oilers. And on defense, you got Michael Kesselring down there. You got Dmitry Samorukov at 7.75. You have Vinny Desharnais down there, and Marcus Niemelainen as well. So there's a couple of ways you can go about it. And technically for the Oilers too, I guess you don't have a cheaper option other than Stuart Skinner in net, so that's where they find themselves right now. But for Ryan McLeod, right, and we've shuffled around all the moving pieces that is the Edmonton Oilers roster, the cap hits, the guys in the minors that could potentially be a solution for the opening night roster. However, for Ryan McLeod, none of that is a comfort because right now you still need to get a contract. And for the Oilers, there really isn't being much in terms of news on that. I think I didn't even see anything pop up on the 9 Things article today from Kurt Levens. Let me just quickly go see if we can't find something out there. And then, of course, we'll discuss the 9 Things article in full later today. And yeah, I mean, right there, the headline is talking about Ryan Murray. So it is what it is, folks. That's just the reality for Mr. Ryan McLeod right now, a victim of the cap situation for the Oilers and looking to try and get himself a contract. And obviously, I don't think this will hold out the last all year by any means. I don't think we've heard near the hoopla you did when Jesse Puljujärvi was an unsigned RFA. There is a plan here, clearly. There is some kind of strategy. But, right, is it Warren Foegele, Tyson Barrie? Are you trading those guys away? And for the Oilers too, if you trade away those two guys, you do have guys in the system that can replace them. Obviously, I believe Evan Bouchard is ready to take that full forward step with his offense and can fully replace both his production and Tyson Barrie's production, so long as Darnell Nurse returns to that form from 2 years ago with the offense. So keep that in mind, folks. There's a lot of moving pieces here, but there's a lot of ways the Oilers can work it and not be worse for wear going into the start of the season. I'm Tyson, this is Stollen TV. Like I said, guys, awkward start there trying to ask you to subscribe and like, but if you haven't done that already and you're considering doing it, why not do it? I am up on out of here.